All right, so the last recording we're going to do is talk about fetal testing, and what I want you to know with this is today there are three really different tests that are done if a woman is pregnant, and we want to discuss. So if you're worried about genetic abnormalities or things like that, what are your what can you do? And so what I want to tell you is for most pregnant women, the one that they always pay for, the insurance picks up, is called an ultrasound or a sonogram. And what's happening there is they're just bouncing sound waves basically onto the fetus, and then a computer is interpreting that and basically making a picture of what your child looks like. And this is, usually what most people will get. Most insurances will pay for one of those, often two, depending on what they find. And this is very, very typical. Okay, so what I want you to know, though, is this is not a test. The ultrasound or sonogram is not a test that will really tell you about genetics. There's no karyotype being done. There is no DNA being pulled. It is valuable. And what they're doing is they're basically looking for fingers and toes and size. So what they're doing is measuring to see if you're within what we call normal parameters. Is your head too big? Are your arms and legs the size you're supposed to be? They count digits if they can see them, those kinds of things. So they're looking for some large abnormalities that show up on that. They also can determine sex. This is basically, it's pretty simple. What they're looking at, is there a penis or not? I mean, that's kind of the question. And then the way things are today, what we're even finding male and female is not quite as cut and dry as we used to think. But anyway, so male and female. Sorry about that. Your sister is calling. And so what I want you to realize with that then is, again, don't you got to be careful. With my daughter, we had the sonogram, and they said they were like 97% sure she was female, and the problem was she was very mobile during the sonogram, so flashed a couple of times, but it wasn't real obvious whether there was a penis there or not. My friend Mike, he called me, and his first daughter had been born, and then he was having another child. His wife was having the other child, and he was really excited because they were twins, and they said there was going to be a boy and a girl. And then reality is, when I go over there now and see them, I get to meet his kid. I get to talk to his kids, Susanna, Angelina, and Tanika. And what's funny about that is that he has three girls, and so I always tease him that during the sonogram, one of the girls was holding a finger out between the other one's legs. So again, it is what it is in that regard. What you need to know is the two tests that are on the slide are the ones that are actually going to allow you to give a karyotype. The amniocentesis and the chorionic sampling, CVS, not the pharmacy. Both of these tests will allow you to get fetal cells, which is what you're going to need for the karyotype. What I want you to know is the advantages and disadvantages of either. Now, the amniocentesis, they're taking amniotic fluid. We talked about that in the reproductive area. And they don't really want the fluid. What they want in there is what's on the bottom, which is the fetal cells, just like us, the baby sloughing off cells. And so that's done through the abdomen, and they can go ahead and try to get cells. And then the CVS is a little different. It is done through the cervix, and they're taking little pieces of the chorionic villi, which is part of the placenta, which is donated by the embryo. So they're getting fetal cells. What I do want you to know is both of these tests, if they can do karyotypes, you can get a genetic component on how healthy the kid is or not. And there are advantages and disadvantages of each. Now let's go through the ultrasound or sonogram. As far as we know, there is no harm to the child. There was at one point they were worried because there were sound waves that they may do ear damage. That has been disclaimed. So sonogram could be slightly uncomfortable for the female when she goes in because she's told not to urinate, so the bladder's pushing on the kid, so it's right up against the wall. But there is no reason not to. There is no reason or any side effects that we know of. Amniocentesis, if you are putting a needle into the uterus, there's always a chance that there can go into labor, a miscarriage. So that can happen. And then anytime you're putting a needle in, you can introduce infection. So there are risks to this test. They typically like to do amniocentesis on women over 35 or 40, depending on your doctor's office, because of the increased chance of Down syndrome in babies. And so, again, there are some withdrawals, but are setbacks. But if you want to get an early idea on how the kid is doing, it might be worth the risk. CVS is not done in this country nearly as much as it's done in Europe. Chorionic villi sampling is probably a little more dangerous than amniotic or amniocentesis. The problem is that there is an increased chance of miscarriage. The odds are greater. So the question then is, why would you do the two? The chorionic villi sampling can actually be done weeks earlier. And so what will happen is if they think there is a major issue, they may suggest CVS, because that way you can get that information a lot quicker and make decisions. So everything has its advantage. The amniocentesis can be done later. It's a little safer. CVS can be done earlier, but it's a little more dangerous. But both of these will get you a karyotype and give you ideas on genetic problems. All right, and then moving along, this concept that we didn't talk about. So most problems are caused. There's two words up here I want you to know: non-disjunction and aneuploidy. Non-disjunction is when there's a problem with the chromosomes during meiosis and they do not split apart like they're supposed to. And it can happen in meiosis 1 or meiosis 2. And so you end up with egg or sperm with the wrong number. So non-disjunction is when there is a mistake in meiosis where the chromosomes do not separate properly. They stay together and they end up going together into an egg or sperm. Aneuploidy is a more general term, meaning that a gamete does not have the correct number of chromosomes. So aneuploidy means not the correct number. Non-disjunction is basically, I guess, the process that happens to cause aneuploidy. So make sure you know the difference between those two terms. And then the human disorders, which we saw a little bit, I guess, in lab: Down syndrome, which is trisomy and X-ray, which is the picture of the karyotype down below. Turner syndrome was just the X. Klinefelter's, which was X, XXY, and then trisomy 21. I guess Down syndrome is different. I screwed that up. But trisomy 20 X syndrome, I did not screw it up. Man, I'm screwing up now. Trisomy is 3 X's, what it is. Sometimes they're called meta females. And typically there is mental retardation and some other issues in that. So just realize that, again, these are happen because of non-disjunction, and these would be examples of aneuploidy not having the right number of chromosomes. And with that, we will call it lectures for the week.